All right. Hello, Scorpio. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully your day or your evening is getting off to a good start. Thank you for giving me a couple of minutes to get set up. I had to walk this little cutie pie here before we began, so that gave me a couple extra minutes to do so. So we're going to be taking a look here at your monthly reading, which can always be used for Sun, Rising, Moon, and Venus, as well as any aspect of your chart that you happen to know. Additionally, at the close of the reading, right before we get into the meditation, I always give a little bit of extra detail on the Sun, Rising, and Moon portions as well. So again, let me just go back to the overall format for today. We're going to begin with channeled messages. I had some really interesting images that came through this morning about kind of like finding your style, finding your voice, putting your name behind things. So it feels like there's going to be a chance for many of you to kind of like step into the spotlight, and being confident and ready for that is going to be a big part of the channeled messages. So stick around and we'll talk about that in a moment. After we go through those channeled messages, we'll take a look at the Celtic Cross, which I really allow to take whatever shape or form it needs to without specifically kind of shoehorning it into just relationships or like just work. It can be any aspect of your life. We save those sort of specific areas for the expanded forecast where we look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. The rest of this forecast is pretty fast flowing. We'll take a look at big idea. There'll be a chance to vote on some things. There'll also be an opportunity to, like I said, dig a little deeper into the Sun, Rising, and Moon portions. If you happen to have a question and you're new, I ask that there are no questions like typed out during the live reading because I don't answer those, but I do save a portion at the end where you can meditate on that or ask about it, and then I'll pull a card and we'll go from there. Okay? So that's the overall kind of organization of everything. If you're brand new, the best way that you can show support and keep in touch with what's going on is to hit the subscribe button. If you're watching live, it's the only way that you can chat, and it costs nothing. It just helps this channel grow. We're getting close to a milestone. When I get to 325,000 subscribers, I will do some Q&A. So spread the word. Let's get it up there, and hopefully next month I can do that as one of the bonus readings because it's fun for me and I know it's fun for you. If you'd like to get reminders of when I am doing new readings or what's going on, please follow me on social media. I'm going to update this as well just to kind of put one more thing on it, which is I don't offer private readings. It's a question I get a lot in the comments. I'm never going to message you directly on a social media platform. So if there is an imposter out there, and there's a lot of them right now, I think it's kind of like whack-a-mole. Once you get rid of one, another one pops up. But if you happen to spot one, please drop me a note, block and report them, and realize that the only way to connect with me in real time is here on YouTube, or if I occasionally do a live on any of the other platforms, you know it's me because it's in real time. All right, and if you do want to show support, you can optionally do it through memberships, through SuperChats, SuperStickers, through Super Thanks, or through my website. Those are the only ways to do it. And again, I'm never going to give a private reading. These are kind of just tools that a lot of the imposters are using, so I have to say it a lot. All right, let me help Apollo, who is going crazy behind me. A lot of you ask, why do I bring him up at the beginning? Some of it is just to kind of like give him a little bit of love and get him settled. And also, there we go. I have to kind of like tuck him in when I get started because he wants to play. He's like, "Come on, Dad, let's do some walking. Let's throw some of these toys around." So dogs are amazing, but they're also little babies, right? They need our attention. They need our love. All right, let me get the presentation set up here. We're going to take a look at channeled messages. As I said, your channeled messages this morning came in a large way in dreams. I felt like I was kind of being bombarded by dreams right before I woke up of like what we needed to talk about. So it's always kind of nice when that happens because it makes it really easy for me to know what we need to focus on. So here we go. So I had just rebooted before I began, so I had to start this up again. All right, here we go. Your totem today is the Mockingbird. And I love the Mockingbird. Primarily when you're hearing it, it is the male birds in the species that are singing. Female can also sing as well, but they tend to do it a little bit more softly. So it's the guys that have the loud voice, and a lot of times it's a mating call when you hear that. So here's why this particular totem came through, and this is also kind of how I got or arrived at it. I actually want to jump one forward. Yeah, I'm going to jump with this one first, and then we'll go back to the first slide. So in spirit this morning, the very last stream that I had was you sort of being set up in a really big changing room. And there was like a stylist there helping you out. But you couldn't remember your name. It was kind of interesting. And what it kind of felt like is, if you've ever watched any of those televised shows like The X Factor or America's Got Talent or Brits Got Talent, whatever they're called across the different sort of countries. But it was one of those where they manufactured a group or a band or something like that, and you were part of it, but you forgot your name because they changed your name too. So sort of like, the band One Direction was picked by a bunch of judges or Simon Cowell, and he kind of like pulled these people together that wanted to be solo. So it's no surprise that they all went solo eventually. But sometimes when you're put into a school, a work environment, an artificial thing like a band like that, it doesn't work out because you're not you. And when we look at those bands, usually they fall apart, like One Direction, and what was the other one with the girls? Something with the five girls or something. Fifth Harmony, right? It always ends up whittling down to 4 or 3 or 2, and then eventually it's done. Because part of it was it didn't start out as something they authentically wanted to do. They were thrown together and put into sort of like a machinery of pop. I've never had an instance where I can't remember my name. So what this is really indicating is don't lose yourself. And it was cool to see all of these sort of things that you could try on, but it was sort of like I could have put, instead of the Fool is here because it's probably good to walk away from this. I could have also put the Devil card on here because sometimes we're lured into things because they look really inviting or fun. And this is asking you to go a little deeper beyond the surface and make sure that you're still a part of it. Your voice, your authenticity, who you are. Because and we saw this in like old school Hollywood, actors would change their names because they wanted to be more mainstream, but you kind of lose yourself a little bit. My grandfather was he was born in Italy, and he immigrated to the United States when he was 13. He spoke English without an accent. He also spoke Spanish and Italian fluently. But they made him change his name when he came here, and he really worked hard to lose his Italian accent. And he later kind of felt bad that he lost some of his culture. And he didn't pass it on to his kids either. No sort of language, no Italian language. And it was just important that everything was American. And then when I knew him, he was in his 60s, 70s, and 80s. And he just said, I wish I'd never changed my name on Ellis Island. And I wish that I would have kept a little bit more. And so I'm thinking of him today. Francesco was his Italian name, but he went by Frank here in the United States. And I think there is something to remembering your name, remembering who you are, what you stand for, where you came from. Don't let someone try to kind of like wash it away. And even if they have, you can always reclaim it. And there was a sort of inventiveness that came with this last dream or vision that I was picking up on. So you get to kind of decide, you get to co-create. And I talked about, it's kind of interesting that we call it a changing room or a fitting room. In the States, it's more like a changing room, but it's in a changing room, you can change, not just into something like new pair of clothes, but also you can change. And before I came into this planet, I've talked about this over the past couple of readings, but I can remember being in something like that, an open room with 2 or 3 guides where we were looking at the possibilities. There's no clothing. It was sort of like they were showing me things, like in the ether, where I could live, who I could be, all of that. We can do that on our own on this planet. You're just using your head and your heart to kind of figure out, does this feel like me? Okay? So my bullet points here, what do you stand for? That's like a homework question. What's important to you? When we're looking at the name, I also think that there's power in putting your name to something. So if you wouldn't want your name associated with a person, a place, or a thing, why are you doing that? Why are you with that person? Why are you connecting with it? And if someone tries to hide your name from something, a presentation, kind of trying to put you in the background, why are you also associating with them? because there is power in being yourself. And when you are yourself, great things start to open up. I didn't, when I first started doing tarot, I wanted to kind of like, on my YouTube channel, I didn't put my last name. And it was maybe like a year and a half to 2 years into doing this, I thought, I work really hard for this. What I do here, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of me. Why am I not using my name? When I started using my name, everything started to shift in the positive. Because essentially, I trusted what I did enough to stand behind it, and then that kind of makes it easier for people to connect to you. There's more of you there. So it's the power of you, and you have to take a risk, and that's ultimately why I put the Fool card on here. And it was a pretty powerful dream. I woke up thinking, I know who I am, I know what my name is, but I knew that that was for you. And so I hope this helps some of you out there that might be struggling with trying to figure out, what is it that I stand for? And really the most important piece is if you wouldn't want your name connected with someone or something, that's a big red flag, and it's kind of asking you to be smart about it and to not allow that to happen. All right. To that end, style can't be dictated. It can, but it shouldn't, okay? So that fitting room and the wardrobe that I was seeing is saying, pick your own style. One artist in particular, if I think back to the 80s that I like, was like Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper and Madonna, but Cyndi Lauper was a little bit more inventive in some ways and really kind of, at the time, seen as kooky, but she was creating her own style. But Madonna did the same thing. They just went out and they chose whatever they wanted. And because it was so weird and so zany, that's why, in fact, I think isn't Cindy's first album as a debut artist. She's so unusual. So she actually embraced it. And I heard interviews of Cyndi talking about her music where she said she wanted every song, even if she didn't write it, the production of it, the vocal delivery of it, to like sit with people. She wasn't looking just to make a hit. She was making a splash. And if you listen to her debut album, it holds up. All of the songs, especially, like Time After Time is an amazing song, and it still resonates today. So anyway, think about your style and know that if you can just sort of be that, it's going to be so much more impactful and people will remember you for years to come. Fun fact about the Mockingbird. It's basically, its Latin name translates to the many-tongued mimic. So Mimus polyglottis, cool sort of name. And it's something to think about here, though, the mimic piece of this. While imitation may be the highest form of flattery, style is something that involves risk and creativity. So what we had talked about with the next slide, the Fool, is part of this. So owning it, we can put the Empress and the Fool together, owning who you are and really sort of deciding, this is me. You can't tell me who I am. I know who I am. And that's why the Queen is there, the Empress. So find your own style. You can be inspired by other people. You can pick up little things that really kind of help you feel, give you sort of like a basis for who you are, but then you have to sort of put your own stamp on it as well, okay? So owning and celebrating and creating your style, making sure that your name is something that you want attached to what you're working on. These are two powerful messages that came through that vision. The other thing that's coming through with the Mockingbird is to establish your boundaries. So they can be very, very territorial. So they guard not only their nests, but also their favorite sort of trees where the fruit is at that they're eating, or any sort of food source. At their best, they remind us to establish and stick to our boundaries, but they can also serve as a warning about being overzealous and swooping in on unsuspecting people that are just trying to kind of like check in on you. So the short and the long of it here is to embrace teamwork, because we don't want to scare people away, but know when enough is enough and use the word no without feeling guilty. So you can be a team player, you can participate in something big, but if you're being asked to do too much, or if someone continues to push your limits, that's when the no is important. So there is a balancing and a fine line, but it's always easy to know when something's wrong. If it doesn't feel right and you don't want to do it, say no. If someone's just kind of trying to express themselves or might, but before you kind of like jump on someone, make sure that you understand, like, wait, am I kind of being too sort of knee-jerk reaction here? So before letting the words come out of your mouth, ask the question, wait, what's this about? Or why did you do this? Or did you hear when I said I didn't want to do this. So just kind of validate that the boundaries have or haven't been crossed, and then react. Always get their point of view. There's room for many voices. So the northern mockingbirds can add sounds to their repertoires throughout their lives. A male can learn up to 200 songs, which I thought was intriguing. And they remind us that there's room for a lot of voices in the room, different points of view. Variety is the spice of life as well. So if there was only one person or one way of doing things, one way of speaking, one way of doing things, it gets very boring. So let's let multiple people have a chance to express themselves. What you want to do is just present maybe the most compelling voice or the most compelling argument, but you don't have to keep other people from communicating. And so strength in your message is what the focus should be, not erasing other people from being able to speak. Because if you are listening to everything that we've talked about today, we'll go back a couple slides here. If you have this sort of indelible style and you are unique and you're very comfortable in what you're presenting, you're passionate about it, you would put your name to it. And you've been working together and kind of collaborating and you're sharing in this moment with everyone, then they're going to want what you have to offer, whatever this is, especially when it comes to work or your style or your brand. So don't worry so much. And if they don't, there's other places to go and there's other places to be. Okay? Those are we only had like 4 slides today, but I thought they were powerful slides with really important messages, particularly about finding who you are, and the importance of the name piece of this, really making sure that you would put your name to something. To me, that's been, as I get older and as I get further along in my career and everything, that's important. If I don't like the brand, the person, or how it's affecting people, then I don't want to associate with it. I don't want my name to that. So I think that's really, really important. Okay, let's get ready for the Celtic Cross. And if you have any sort of suggestions or requests, I'll consider those right now. I'm going to pull a few of the decks here that we haven't put into rotation as much, or that haven't been selected. Sometimes I put them out there, but they haven't been selected. So let me just zoom in on the table so you can see them. I'll keep an eye on the chat here as I'm getting into this. So Tarot of St. Croix, we haven't used this one too frequently. Because birds are a part of today's, I'm going to also pull the Raven's Prophecy, which I throw out occasionally, but doesn't always get chosen. I'm going to also put another nature deck here, Wild Unknown. I've been using that a lot, but people seem to resonate with it. And let me know if there's another one that you all haven't seen. I'm going to kind of pop over to the side and just see if there's more that is calling to me. And I'm not going to spend too much time, then we'll get started on today's reading because we've got a lot to talk about. Let's see, what is calling here? Maybe the Green Witch. We haven't used that in a while. Okay, here we go. Some different options. Haven't used all of these in a while. Okay. So let me give you your poll and we'll go from here. All right. So once I throw the poll up for your voting, I'll let you see some of each. So we have Tarot de St. Croix here. And then we have Raven's Prophecy. Had to pull something with birds in because of today. And then we have another one that has a lot of nature in it, the Wild Unknown, and then a sort of earthy one here with the Green Witch Tarot. Okay, so while you're voting, let me show you some of the cards so you know what you're voting for. Here is the St. Croix Tarot. It's actually a very beautiful deck. Rider-Waite-Smith derivative, but it has some really unique interpretations of the cards, and I like it, but I don't use it all the time, so I thought I would pull this one out. And then, of course, we got our bird tarot here. This is Raven's Prophecy. You're going to see a lot of birds in it, and you're also going to see very simple kind of understated images. So it's not as sort of like, it's not as busy as some of the other decks. It's almost like a single image on each card. Then we have, oh, hello. We have the Wild Unknown, which is nature totem based. And I don't think there's any humans in the deck. No, there's not. It's all birds and animals. and it's a beautiful black and white with spots of color sort of deck, which I love, okay? And then just because we're going with nature stuff, as you can see, there's a rhyme and reason to what I was doing. We have Green Witch, which basically has a lot of beautiful green and lush imagery, lots of nature as well, but it does have people, and it's really this the first and the last that have people. All right, the Raven's Prophecy, lo and behold, has 55% of the vote. There's no need to kind of go any further. It looks like we've got a surefire winner there. So let me just put these other decks to the side, and we're going to give the Raven's Prophecy its day in the sun. It may be only the third or fourth time I've used it because it doesn't get chosen that often. So thank you for allowing me to look at something different here. So we're going to be looking at the Celtic Cross next. Like I said, this can be used for any aspect of your chart. We will go a little deeper into the sun, rising, and moon messages later. Let's get this set up and take a look at the month of July, and again, the next 6 to 8 weeks. It's a beautiful deck, actually. I do like its simplicity. I originally ordered this for Halloween, but it didn't come in on time. Or I think the first deck that I got was damaged and I had to send it back. And so outside of Halloween, it doesn't get chosen all the time, so it's kind of fun to see it. Okay. How is everyone doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm glad you could join me, particularly for those of you that it's very early in the morning or very late at night. I think that would be like those of you that are on the Pacific time zone or in Hawaii or maybe in Australia or New Zealand. I know we're all either up late or up early. So thank you to everyone who's sticking around despite the fact that it's still dark outside. Here we just have the beginning of the new day right now, so that's good. One of these days I will find myself a new place to be. I'm not rushing it. I've probably seen a couple dozen places, but I'm trying to find the right place before I move. All right, let's get going and see what's coming through for you. Okay. We have a beautiful card in your catalyst position. The catalyst in my spread is basically a way for everything to be connected, a way to also kind of stay in the strongest, brightest energy and create positive traction. So we have the Ancient Oak Spirit here with Strength. And I like this nature version of the Strength card because what it's showing is the importance of grounding oneself in something that matters. Really deciding to commit and connect to something. We had a cool card, and I have it right here handy because I need to stack it to the side, but I still have it right here. So yesterday when I was reading for Libra, we had the standing stones come through, and I've seen a lot of kind of grounding energy. Some of you may be on the cusp, so this makes sense. So we have two very earth-oriented cards here, and there's strength in knowing who you are and what you want. And once you've kind of committed to that, then it's kind of like you have to put your roots down. And so if you've been going from place to place, relationship to relationship, job to job, there is almost this impetus, this push, this challenge to say, well, what if you were just to sort of stand still for a bit? What could happen? And that's what this card is kind of positing out to you is some part of your life is requiring just a little bit of roots to be put down, okay? I don't know the name of the decks. Most of these are on my website. So just take a look for the tarot decks. I don't know this one offhand. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's focus on the messages here going to the center. We have the Queen of Cups, and the Queen of Cups is a fantastic card for you, especially, to be at the center. This is saying, if you know who you are, if you trust in your heart and your emotion, that you're going to have the ability to really pull other people in. They're looking for you and your read on something. So have you ever noticed if you're not ready to present something, if you're not ready to talk about something, if you're just very uncertain, that comes across in any number of ways. It could be that you can't have eye contact, so you're kind of like shifting around. It could be that your voice is quivering a little bit, or that if you're standing up to talk or present in front of a group, you're shaking a little bit. So find your center, as we saw with this beautiful card here. Find your center, believe in yourself, and then connect in what kind of like makes you passionate about it. The best salespeople are the ones that actually would buy or own or believe in the product that they're selling, or that maybe they were the creator of it, because again, their name is behind it. So reconnecting with the messages that we had back in the channeled messages, I would say it's important for you to really feel like this is me. Because this is me, or because there's something in my life that I can relate to with this, you can relate to it as well, because you know that my heart is in it. If your heart's not in something, it's the wrong thing that you're kind of connecting to. So you either feel it or you don't, and that's really what the Queen of Cups is telling us right here and right now, okay? And we have the full moon behind this, and we just went through a full moon, but full moons give us a chance to release as well. So there may be something in your life where it doesn't meet your expectations, your sort of bar of excellence. And if that's the case, then I think that's going to be sort of your litmus test on that, okay? So here, you guys are asking about the card deck. Just give me a second. It's actually, that's the... I tend not to do this because it takes me out of the reading, so I'll do it one time and then I need to focus on things. So it's called the Sacred Forest Oracle, okay? By Denise Lynn. The reason I don't put a bunch of cards throughout this and identify each one is I work with 6 different decks, and I don't want to constantly be advertising here. I'm just more connecting with the messages, so that's the main reason I don't. But there's a lot of back and forth on that one, so I did want to identify it. So now you have it. Okay, let's move on to the next card here. So crossing the Queen of Cups at the center, which is saying, put your heart into this, feel authentic about this. Doing so will allow other people to connect to you. And if your heart doesn't feel it, let go, okay? We have the Page of Swords on top of this. I like that we actually see like an old-fashioned, what is it? Not a quiver. It's basically, what do you call it when the old-fashioned way of writing, not like the oil pen. You guys will put it out there. This is where I do need your help. But basically, we see writing coming through on this, okay? So one thing that's really effective in being able to call something into being, it's kind of like a spell. When we think it, say it, write it, do it. It's kind of like all of those things. Yeah, it's a quill. Okay, so basically connect all of those together and you have kind of magic. So a lot of times there are people that will just constantly say, I want to do this, I want to do that. I got it, it's quill. Thank you, we're good. So what the quill is showing us is to write it down. And then also to keep yourself accountable, and sometimes even set into motion. It's almost like you're making a contract with yourself, okay? So the quill is showing us that we're going to write down something that's important and say, I at the end of this month, I commit to doing this. This is my number one focus. You can also write with your pen. You don't need a quill for this. Just saying something like, I am, and whatever it is that you want to be. I am deserving. I am strong. I am manifesting this. So start to kind of pull into action what it is that you want, and then have a conversation with someone about it as well. All right. So there could be an opportunity opening up for you once you, well, by the way, it's also asking someone else to put it in writing. So if you're looking to get ahead at work, if you're looking for commitment in a partnership of some sort, this is about the legal connection to this as well. So for those of you that still work in a traditional office where they have annual reviews and performance reviews, they may, sometimes you might have a supervisor who will say, yeah, we'll look into that, or yeah, that sounds good, or we can make this happen. What you want to do afterwards is follow up with an email and say, thank you so much for talking about this. I'd really like to put it into my plan for this year. Tell me what I need to do to make this happen and how likely it is to happen. Try to get some paperwork behind the idea. Legally speaking, if you have come up with something unique, then this is also about copywriting, patenting, or somehow protecting what it is that you're doing. Because without the patent, the copyright, or the legal protection, there could be someone else that swoops in, and that territorial mockingbird that we saw earlier is also an indication of making sure that you protect yourself from someone that might want to come in and try to sort of like snack off of your ideas. So this is a pretty powerful symbol here. Get it in writing. Either legally protect yourself, get someone's promise in writing, or make sure that you have put together something that is inspiring for yourself. And sometimes when we write it, we believe it too. So sometimes it helps to kind of see the words in black and white. By the way, if you are having a difficult time sort of listening to someone talk, maybe at at school or a seminar, that's why writing it down is another way of learning. When we're putting it on paper, we see it, we kind of like ingrain it in our head as well. So the power of writing is coming through with this Page of Swords, and pages record. So that's the last thing. Get it on the record. Lots of ways to sort of indicate how to put it on the record. Okay. So let's see what's coming through next. All right. So, and yes, we do see the sort of sword in the background there on this as well. We have next the Seven of Swords, and this is really making sure that you trust your collaborators, your partner, the people that you're with. So what we see with this is people that are making a promise with their fingers crossed. Sometimes this is a nice way of showing how the Seven of Swords can be the half-truth of the lie that we tell to ourselves, or saying that we're ready before we're ready. So sometimes, at its best, if I have to find the best version of the Seven of Swords, basically what happens is we say yes when we know we shouldn't because we want to please people. So you could be, for instance, saying that you could make someone's dinner or recital even though you know you're going to have to work late. You could say that you're okay with working the weekend when you're tired and you know you're going to get sick, and we just kind of extend ourselves in too many directions. Or you say you're going to help someone move, but you've got 3 other obligations that day, and then they're waiting for you and you're like 2 hours late. So what happens with this is the boundaries that we would have followed if we listened to the channel messages, if we don't do that, then we end up kind of messing up and getting caught in that and getting caught up in the traditional Seven of Swords. So I'm going to show you the traditional illustration on this when we see someone trying to sneak away and get away with something. So sometimes we don't want to have the conversation, so we just sort of like don't have it and think we can get away with it, but we can't. So if that's happening, this is just a wake-up call to you to know that it's better to say no and have that moment of disappointment rather than having someone really be caught in a pickle by you not showing up later. So pull the Band-Aid off. If you can't do something, say no in the moment. People will respect you for knowing that it basically, it's not, there's levels of disappointment. They may be disappointed that you're not going to be available, but if you say you're not going to show up, or say you're going to show up and you don't show up, then they can't trust your words. So one is disappointment, one is a loss of trust. Better to just have that minor disappointment and then have them find someone that can help. So stand behind yourself, your own word, your own name, your own promises. If someone else is falling short, find out what's going on with them. Always validate and make sure, did you understand what the instructions were? Was anything sort of not clear? And if you can kind of discern that it was very clear and they just made a mistake, you want to say, don't do that again. If they knew what they were doing and they tried to get away with something, then let them know that you don't stand for that. And that it may be a once and done sort of thing. So if someone really kind of like crossed the line, you could just say, I can't engage with you because this isn't someone, you aren't someone that I can trust. So there are no more of these sort of like fingers crossed promises on your part, and you can't let someone else get away with that either. Always ask why it happened. And if they were someone that was just trying to make everyone happy, then remind them of these wise words. If you do this, you will, first of all, be very unhappy yourself because it's not feasible. You're going to disappoint others, and people aren't going to believe you or know what you stand for. So it's better to be honest and be yourself and say no, okay? It's in the past, so I think many of you have probably learned this lesson yourself, but there could be someone else in your life that's still struggling with that. We have the Ace of Pentacles here, and it's in the recent past. If you're watching this in the future, like many of us are, or looking at this for like the month ahead, then this is basically happening right now because the past is now. Confusing, but you get my gist. The Ace of Pentacles, it's in reverse. So we see something being uprooted and transplanted. So you may be the person that's being uprooted or transplanted. There may be an idea or a project that's being pushed to a different timeline or deadline. There could also be something that could benefit from a different environment. So as a gardener, I look at this and I think, if you seed a bunch of different plants, or maybe you have a small little pot where something's being sort of rooted in, once it has started, you have to then give it a bigger pot so that the roots can grow and the plant can thrive. So are you currently feeling like you are root bound, that you are not able to put down any sort of foundations or roots because people around you are constantly putting boundaries around you and saying, don't do that, or you can't do this, or only this person does that. And it's like, well, how am I ever going to grow if I never have a chance to try, or everything has already been sort of assigned? And so for some of you, you're a big fish in a little pond, to use a different metaphor, or a big tree in a little pot and it can't grow. In fact, at that point, it could die. So you have to find a way to thrive somewhere else. So if you feel stagnation, we'll kind of use that like death reversed, then the reason that you're stagnating is there's not enough opportunity to spread your wings, spread your roots, spread your branches, use whatever metaphor you want, but there's a chance to sort of like go bigger, and don't be afraid of that, okay? If that's what you want. If not, then fight for the expansion and the opportunity that you deserve. It's probably going to involve getting it in writing. So if you have a glass ceiling, break through the glass ceiling and write this down, whatever it is that you need to do. And that's going to be vital. Otherwise, it's going to be the same old, and we're not here for that. We're here to help you create change in your life. We have the Four of Pentacles, which is a constricting card. I'm really glad you chose the Raven Prophecy today because the illustrations are great and they allow me to kind of go in a different energetic realm, so thank you. So the traditional card, which I'll pull in a second, would show the fourth pentacle in front of the heart, and it's a person sort of holding on for dear life. Here we see what looks like it could be a rose bush, or some sort of thorny bush, but it's bound together so tightly that it can't grow. So the same message is coming through for this, which is, and I'll let you look at the card while I'm doing this, but basically, if I can't breathe, how am I going to be able to see things grow, expand, etc.? So are you getting the common thread between these two? You need room. There could be a person in your life. It could be your mom or a boss or someone that means well, sometimes even a friend or a frenemy. They're stepping in and they're trying to sort of like keep you where you're at. They don't want you to grow because either they're afraid of losing you or they're afraid that you might mess up. And either way, you don't get a chance to sort of try. And if you can't try, then again, you just don't really know what you're capable of. And I think you're capable of a lot. It's the last card that makes me laugh. Okay, so here's your traditional Four of Pentacles. Here's the Four of Pentacles as illustrated here. So this one is showing that things are getting sort of, basically, it's like they're strangled. They're not allowed to grow. And this one, we see what's doing it. And it's usually you or someone else. You're holding on and you're saying, this is as good as it gets, or is this as good as it gets? And the answer is no, we just need to let go. A little bit of breathing room. So if this is mom, teacher, boss, friend, say, give me space, let me try. I hear your concern, but I'm an adult. I can do this. If you're holding on to something because you're afraid it's as good as it gets, then that is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if you're only holding space for one thing, one person, one reality, that is as good as it gets. If you open yourself up to something else, you may discover that this was pretty darn good, but you may also discover that there's something more. You don't know until you open up. So you have to take that risk assessment and make your own decision on that. But I will guarantee that if you only allow one thing to come in, then that is as good as it gets. So open yourself up to seeing if there's more. You have to sort of explore. And don't accept the Four of Pentacles as sort of like if someone's giving you payment, this isn't enough. You want to see a little bit more reciprocity with this, okay? Let's move into the very interesting illustration for the Knight of Swords here. So let me pull it up right for you. We have, up close to the camera rather, we have the Knight of Swords, and we see like a little bit of blood on this particular set of scissors here. So some of you may be presented with this opportunity to remove something from your life, to cut the ties between you and between someone else. And what this card is saying is make sure that it's a clean leave, a clean cut, that you're not sort of burning the bridge, to use another metaphor. So the simplest way to do this is just, again, remembering the power of no. You can validate why you're saying no. You can also allow the no to be not now or later. You could sort of say, no, I can't do that today, but I can do it next week. Is that good for you? So you can put a little bit of kindness or context behind something. But if you're going to speak constructively, critically about someone, it has to be constructive as well. Otherwise, what you say or do will come back to you. It can be traced to you, and it may be something that you wish that you would have done differently. So when using your thoughts or actions this month, act kind of like when you're carrying something sharp. You have to, with scissors, you hold it away from you, right? And with a knife, the same thing. You want to point it away from you, make sure it's not pointing towards anyone else. Our words can have the same power, our actions can have the same power. So before we connect with them, let's make sure we know the ramifications. Because you have great power and strength this month to make a clean break, to allow for your words to be heard and to be strong. This is a shaping card too. So because we see this, think more of like what, if you're making like a snowflake, that's what comes to mind on paper. You have to cut stuff out to see a new shape. So sometimes there is an opportunity or a challenge from the universe to, these two cards go together, to cut something out, to release something in your life, so that you can see what else is there. So creating or holding space. And the center card was showing that too. It's Queen of Cups, but we see that feather there. Kind of like releasing something. And when I go back to like Egyptian mythology, the feather and the heart, your heart should be light. The Queen of Cups would be connected to your heart. So you should feel this sense that it's easy, it's light, it's bright, connecting to something. And if it isn't, then that's what you need to release as well. All right, let's move on. By the way, there could be love coming into your life this month. The Queen of Cups is very open-hearted and also is a great card, either Ace of Cups or Queen of Cups or 10 of Cups or 2 of Cups. Any of these are great for love. And the person that you're calling in is a little bit more youthful, is a little bit more vocal, but may actually be too direct for you. That's another thing that I'm seeing. So if you're pulling in love, make sure that you are taking time to talk things out. And if something comes through as upsetting, you may just have a person that is like they shoot from the hip, they say what's on their mind, and they don't think about how it comes across, and that could be a challenge in relationships. We'll talk more about that when I expand the forecast, but I had to say it before I forgot it right now. All right, we have the Five of Swords here. These are sister cards, so the Five of Swords and the Seven of Swords. So I'm not really surprised that we got both of them here. The Five of Swords is oftentimes a card where you just can't win it, and the message here is know when it's best to walk away. So here's your traditional Five of Swords, and the Five of Swords is often someone who, it's kind of like they have cotton in their ears. They don't hear everything that you're saying, or they hear but they are not listening. It's just kind of in one ear and out the next. And in a confrontation, in a mediation, anytime when there's something important on the table, it's frustrating to be in front of someone that will not acquiesce. They will not give an inch. They cannot be wrong. And so this card is basically saying know when it's time to let that go. Okay? the card was reversed. So some of you may be trying to get that person to sort of like see it from your point of view. Typically, when I pull a 5 of Swords card, I would say it's important to just to know that if it's you, it's better not to say or do it. And if it's someone else, that they're not receptive. It did come in you right now. So this is saying, if it's you and if you know that you shouldn't say something in an argument, bite your tongue. And you know what I'm talking about. It's not, I'm all for saying what needs to be said, but sometimes we go one step further and we're like, I'll show you. Don't. It won't be good. That's why the Knight of Swords comes through. Someone will keep that on record, or they're going to hold a grudge, or it will be traced back to you. If someone else is doing that to you, then get a record of that, because it needs to stop, and it will stop. This is an end of a cycle. So either you're going to know when to bite your tongue, or someone else is going to realize that I can't treat you that way. 5 and 7 of Swords coming through, ending that sort of ability for them to get away with stuff. So it's actually a good combination. And really, that's why these are brother or sister cards, because they teach a common lesson, which is knowing you shouldn't do something and still doing it anyway. The knowing you should is the 5, and the doing it anyway is the 7. So be very kind and be very honest and be very constructive. And if you are all of those things, neither of these cards are going to hurt you this month. Okay? If you are unkind, if you are dishonest, or if you do something hastily, that'll be something to kind of navigate, and it'll be tricky. If someone else is doing it, trust in karma and know that it's going to work itself out. Don't be afraid of these things. Just know that this is a call to be honest, transparent, and proactive. And I always give you the tools to navigate tricky cards, and I never sugarcoat a card if it's coming through and it's tricky. So you have 2 that are a little tricky, but you know how to navigate them, okay? So whoever's like Isha, don't be nervous. If you're like, there's not like basically preparing for what you need to say or do. That's the important thing. Okay. Because as we talked about earlier, you want to focus on trusting and knowing who you are. One thing that helps if you have a difficult conversation is to write it down. You can have it on your phone in a notepad. You can have it written out on a sheet of paper. You can be part of a presentation. That's why I do bullet points. I have a lot to talk about. So when I do the channel messages, I want to make sure that they're there. I don't necessarily read them verbatim. I just look at them and I remember what I needed to say. And very rarely do I read every word on the slide. I just look at it and take it from there. So that's all you need to do as well to have your sort of ducks in a row. Let's look at what's in the environment. Lo and behold, you have double strength cards this month. So you got strength in your totem, or not your totem, but in your your catalyst card, and you also have strength in the environment. So this is who you are. This is how people see you. You've got this. So don't be afraid. Be strong. We're going to look at the traditional illustration on this in just a moment, but let's focus on how this artist envisioned it. So we see the kind of clenched fist. The important thing to realize here is we don't want to go towards aggression, and we don't want to kind of get so like nervous or angry, because when I see that, to me it's sort of like if someone really gets on your nerves, you're just sort of like, ugh. So finding a way to kind of channel the frustration, and we show our strength in a lot of times our ability to remain calm, grace under fire, grace under pressure. Let's look at the traditional strength card and maybe one of my other favorites, because I'm always fascinated to see how someone handles, well, all of the major arcana cards, but strength in particular, because this one is dealing with old paradigms of divine masculine and feminine. So we see here, another message could be everyone has the capacity to do what they want. There's no gender on it, so I do like that. So male or female, you've got what it takes. Show your strength. But we don't necessarily have to show it this way. And on a traditional deck of cards, we also don't have to like put our hands in the mouth of a beast. When I look at the traditional strength card, it reminds me of the importance of not trying to make someone say or do something, and likewise, not allowing them to do that to you. What's cool about this, and I guess maybe the the one thing that really does get behind the divine feminine on this card is you're able to overcome the old paradigm and the patriarchy with this, because she's just fine. She's calm. She opened the mouth of the beast and she's like, you're not controlling me, I'm controlling you. I just wish that we didn't have control as a energy on this. So I like that we have just the strength. I can do this. But when I see a fist, I see this. When I see this card, I see someone controlling someone. When I look at a different deck of cards here, I just took it out of rotation because for today, because we used it recently. But the strength card in the Lightseers deck shows a blending of divine masculine and feminine. It shows a calm, cool, collected sort of point of view. And I think that's what you want to aim for. And so I'm just doing a little Tarot 101 here just to kind of show the different approaches. So know when to stand your ground, know when enough is enough, and don't let anybody try to put words in your mouth or make you act or do something that you don't want to do. And so this is my favorite, one of my favorites when it comes to the strength card, because we see divine, feminine, and masculine, and we see that is what's going to get you your following, the lamb here, following instead. And I like that instead of trying to open the mouth of a beast, as we saw in this one, to get someone or something else to follow you, you've inspired the follower here with that little lamb. So this is a good illustration of what strength can and should be, okay? But some of us need to know that we're strong enough because we've been told before that we're weak. And so that's what this is reminding you. You're strong enough, you have the capacity. Maybe take the blending of the two like we saw with the Lightseers deck and show it and demonstrate it and lead by example rather than trying to force your hand, okay? So those are just 3 that came to mind, because I always like to go back to the Rider-Waite-Smith, since the system that most of us use is derived from that. I do have a Thoth deck, but I just don't connect with that imagery as much. But so most decks are Rider-Waite-Smith derived, so it's good to know what the symbol was. It's good to see the interpretation, and then I like to show some of my favorites. I think that there's a lot of other decks that do it well, like Afro Goddess, and I think even if we'd use Tarot of St. Croix, all of them show a face-to-face, like the woman and the tiger or the lion looking at each other. And that's also cool. Like, look each other in the eye, show your strength. Don't show your strength. Show it because of the way you hold yourself in the room. So like if a queen enters, she just has this sort of nature and this way of kind of like stepping in the room, or someone that you really respect. They know their power, they know their place, and they trust that other people are going to see that. So demonstrate it. That's what I'm seeing. All right, that was a long discussion on strength, but it's important. We have the Sun card here coming through for hopes, fears, and possibilities. Fantastic. This is a really great energy here. It reminds me of the Never-Ending Story. Spoiler alert, you can forward past this if you haven't seen it, but there's a pivotal scene where all that's left is a single grain of sand to a kingdom. And the queen holds the single grain of sand and hands it to the champion and says, make a wish. And basically he's like afraid to wish. And she says, well, if you don't make a wish, then it's all lost. But if you make a wish, the whole kingdom can come back. So he just keeps making wish after wish after wish and builds this sort of like fantasy kingdom. So when I look at that, that's what I see. Because it's literally the Never-Ending Story there. That's almost the last scene. So as you kind of think to yourself, what can I do? Who am I? All of these sort of questions that we asked earlier. When you believe it, when you make the wish, when you send it out, just start with one, because that's what we see here. Amazing things can happen, but you have to believe that it's possible. You have to kind of put that out there. The Sun card is also a very charismatic card. There are 2 cards that I really see as charisma. Of course, the Magician, because there's just a lot of chemistry involved with that one. But the Sun card is something that draws you in, thinking of like what our sun does. It's the glue to our solar system. So you have the chance to be stronger than you give yourself credit for. Your belief in that strength then pulls in new people, new opportunities, a new version of yourself. And when we look at this particular card, on the hands, we can actually see all the different elements coming through as well. So we see swords, we see cups, we see wands, etc. So you have everything that's necessary to make the next thing, the next phase, the next big goal in your life happen. You just have to believe what you're seeing. And that's so important because your final sort of outcome card here in the Celtic Cross is the Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands is a necessary piece to manifestation. This is a partner card to the High Priestess or the Magician because it is about constantly sort of holding your vision right there by you and saying, I know what I want. We see in a normal Two of Wands a person holding a crystal ball or the globe, the two wands by their sides, and they're keeping an eye on what it is that they're doing and what they're doing here. How does it match up? So if you believe in your vision, if you believe in your strength, and if you really don't allow for anyone or anything that is not authentic or not honest or not committed to be in your trajectory, then your outcome cards are good. Knight of Swords, quick action. Two of Wands, executing on your vision. Opportunities, a big chance to stand out because the sun is another star, basically. We call it the sun, but it is a star. So you get a chance to step into star energy, which is why I saw the changing room, which is why people were asking you what you stood for, and you're fine. All of the cards that matter are great, but you do have limiting cards this month with Four of Pentacles, Seven of Swords, and Five of Swords. So you have to be authentic. You need other people around you to be trustworthy. And you can't hold on to something just because it's convenient or because you're afraid that that's it. Everything else in the spread is good, including the Ace of Pentacles. It is requiring you to move or step into something different. You're being asked to put your signature on something or asking someone else to do that. But all the other cards are powerful, okay? I'll take that. If out of 10, 7 of them are amazing and 3 of them are challenging, the odds are stacked in your favor, okay? Let's move on to the expanded forecast. We're going to take a look at health, wealth, love, and destiny next. Each one of these is multi-part. As we look at health, I always like to remind people that what I'm doing here is helping you navigate opportunities and energy. If there's anything going on with your body or with your mental health, you want to talk to someone else. But looking at the energy is what we're going to do together. So let's see what it says. We have Holy Amethyst here, Divine Alchemy. It says, move beyond current challenges and focus on what you desire. So I'll actually pull that up in a second. I might need to dust it off for a second. But I have amethyst behind me because it's a really protective stone. You can wear it around any part of your body. It's great around your throat. It's great on your as a ring. You can put it as a bracelet, anywhere that you want protection, and also where it shows. So fun fact, and a good sort of technique for those of you that want a new way to protect yourself. Use a choker, or just use a stone right here where people can see it, and you can kind of modify that based on what you're needing. So for instance, if you're in a very negative environment, you can either use amethyst or onyx or any sort of darker stone. And then when people talk to you, they're going to be looking at that stone, especially if it's amazing. And some of their energy will get absorbed in the stone and you will not absorb it. And then just clean it using however you want to clean your stones, whether it's in the moonlight, or if you want to put some holy water on it, or you want to smudge it. There's a lot of different ways to charge and clean it. But that's a great way to have the energy absorbed there, but not here. And certain things like amethyst also push it away from you. So I'm looking at her throat and heart energy there with that amethyst. So you could wear a couple of necklaces if you want to. And men can wear a choker too, so don't worry about it. Or you can wear like a beaded sort of necklace or something here. So whatever you want to do, and it can be under your shirt too. But the cool thing is if it is exposed, then people will see it, and it can protect you in a way that's more powerful than if it were just hidden. Some things we want to hide. Sometimes if there's a secret chain or something with something protective and you just want it to be for yourself, I get it. But when it comes to a crystal, it can actually be quite effective if they see it. Okay? You can also get those little polished beads if you want to. If you don't want a big sort of stone here, you could just have those polished beads and wear those as well. So if you have a chance, I got this when I was in a visit to Sedona. It's a beautiful cluster, isn't it? much less expensive than if you went to like a metaphysical bookstore. Maybe it was just like $200. And I've seen these like for like 500 and 1,000. Sometimes that's ridiculous. Maybe make a trip to Sedona or somewhere like that, or if there's a place where you can get crystals cheaper, that's fine, because you don't have to spend a lot. It's just a rock from the earth. We have to remind ourselves of this. Sometimes people will take advantage of that. You can also do a much smaller one. Like I said, just a single shard of that would be fine. But since I'm working with all of you and all of this, I have a big cluster behind me so that there's extra protection. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at the cards real quick and see if there's any other messages. So physical strength building is definitely a part of this. Some of you may decide to spend a little bit more time and energy on working out. And obviously you're going to have to pay attention to the limits and the capabilities of your body, but that card is great and it's in the perfect place for that. So whether you're working out under the instruction of someone else or deciding just to kind of like swim and walk and hike, whatever works for your body and whatever your doctor approves, this card is saying now's the time to put more energy into that. If you want to make a change in your life, the 5 and the 7 of Swords are just saying, hey, are you really committed to this? If not, wait until you are, or get someone there that can keep you accountable. This can be a trainer. So if you know that you are not going to keep up with a schedule, then get someone there. If you know that you're having a hard time eating the way you should, maybe seeing a dietitian or getting someone to help you prepare meals, etc. Someone needs to kind of be an accountability partner for some of you. For the rest of you, it's just saying work on strength building, not just sort of like flexibility, but also making sure that this helps with the heart, making sure that, you have the muscles and you've been working out, all of that. Okay, 4 of Pentacles, speaking of the heart, has to do with what happens if we hold on to stress too much in our life. Let's see if I can pull it up again. You know what it looks like anyway. It's at the bottom of this. But basically the 4 of Pentacles, what happens sometimes is our blood pressure can go up, or we get really stressed out and the heart ends up sort of like palpitating or beating. And so we want to work on finding outlets for the stress. And that's why this came through. So work with your doctor to make sure that there's no family history of this and everything's okay. If you have stress in your life, look for an outlet. Dancing is a great outlet. Art is a great outlet. Music, whatever. There's so many different ways, but if you can get the heart beating, that also helps move the energy that's trapped there too. Okay, let's see if there's anything else that's coming through. Solar plexus can also be power dynamics in your life. So this is where I'm looking at energy and how it would affect you. So if you have a lot of stress at work or at home with a person and it's like a tug of war, it can affect digestion. You can have ulcers. You can have a bunch of stuff that goes on in the solar plexus. So finding a way to ease those relationships would also be beneficial. Thankfully, most of what we're seeing here is stuff that you can take ownership or control of. And I think that's good. And just being honest with yourself and with others. So that's all I'm seeing here. You are able to execute on whatever your vision is for health and well-being, so go for it. All right. The last thing as I look at this card here is focus on what you desire. So if you're not happy with who you're with or what you're doing, this is saying then by redirecting and focusing on the goal, that's going to help you get there faster, and that's going to also help you get through this moment in time. That's your health message. Let's move on to wealth. Wealth is not just money. It's also kind of like how you're dealing with what your relationship with that is. Self-worth equals net worth. It's also like how you're spending your time and energy. So we have expand your horizons here. Some of you are getting ready for work to possibly take a transfer move. This almost looks like the Fool coming out of the box, right? So it's a time to take a little bit of a risk, a leap of faith. And we have vast vistas here. Look at it from a different perspective, and a change in environment can always kind of like do the heart and mind really good sometimes. So don't be afraid to do that. Let's look specifically at what's coming through. I mentioned the 4 of Pentacles. It feels like some of you, when we're looking at work, are holding back. You could be holding back on skills or things that you could offer. You could be held back because other people are afraid of you growing. You could be working for less than you should, or you could just feel like you're not into it anymore. There is a limit of some sort with the 4. And so this is a month to release that limit. So if you're holding yourself back, just go for it. Let people see what you truly can offer. If your heart's not in it, we got going back to the Queen of Cups here, then it's time to let it go. Something needs to expand here because not this, but these three are great. So we're looking at environment, hopes and fears, and then opportunities. We see strength, the Sun, and the Two of Wands. They're fantastic. So you can do it. You can attract the opportunity. You have to just keep connecting to those two thoughts and it will happen. So whatever's going on that makes you maybe feel like you're not worth it or you can't do it, or it's this being less than enough is actually okay. It's a reality check to say, no, it's not okay. Let's open up things a bit. Okay. Going out on your own is fine if that's something that you want to do. The Queen of Cups and the Sun card it's very entrepreneurial and it's very good at getting what you need. The only thing that I'm seeing here, and I might want to take a look at it when I do Reader's Choice, is why don't we see more resources? I want to see more than just the Four of Pentacles. So I'm going to check into resources when I do the Reader's Choice and see why it's as limited as it's showing up as here. Okay. And let's see if there's anything else. Again, we talked earlier about getting everything in writing, protecting ideas, having patents and trademarks put into place. All of that's important. And then being able to fight for what matters. So I feel like for me, social media, I'm constantly fighting to get rid of the imposters and they pop up everywhere. But you just keep trying until that fake profile gets taken down. So for you, if someone else is trying to take your idea, if someone is trying to also make you not be able to pitch or present something, stand up for what matters because you have something that's worth offering. Okay. Might be 2 months of change for you as well, or 2 months before the change takes place. The Two of Wands says keep the hope, keep the vision, keep the action behind the vision, the Knight of Swords being the action. Things will start to happen faster than you realize, but there's a little bit of a waiting period for some of you in the meantime. All right, let's move on to relationships. So for love and relationships, we got the Waterfall. The card was reversed. When it's upright, the caption makes sense, effortless. And there's only one way to go. When it's reversed, it's fighting against the current. And you can't really swim up a waterfall, unless you're salmon. Upstream, maybe. But going backwards, it's basically saying, if it's always difficult, talking, fighting, collaborating, planning, doing things with someone else, then you have to ask yourself, what is the return that I'm getting for this exertion of energy? If it just doesn't feel like it's worth it, it probably isn't. And so this is just validation. If it usually is easy, but it's not right now, then this is asking, like, one or both of you need to put in a little bit more effort and figure out what's going on. But there has to be reciprocity, and it can't be forcing. Because it's kind of interesting, we talked so much about the strength card, and one of the key tenets to that strength card is kind of like forcing someone to want to do something. And so this is saying it's the exact opposite. We don't want to try to open up the mouth of the tiger or the lion. Here, I'm going to do it the other way because it's easier here. So basically saying, hey, this isn't worth the time and energy. You shouldn't have to have that conversation all the time. The strength card isn't sustainable, that version of it. So because you can't always do this, you're going to get exhausted. It's not worth, it may feel like you're winning. You might have won the battle, but you're losing the war, right? So take a moment to just think, why am I putting this much into it? All right, let's break this down into 3 different aspects. We're going to look at those of you in a relationship, those of you looking for love, and those of you that are single and happy. A reminder that for the first piece of this, you can also look at the relationship that you think of the most. It can be a non-romantic one if you need to. All right. So one thing that's kind of interesting here is there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen here with the Queen of Cups, the Knight of Swords, the Page of Swords, and even the Sun. These can all be people. The Sun being a child or a man-child, usually a male that kind of acts like a kid. The Queen of Cups and the Knight of Swords being the key relationship types that I'm looking at. So someone, probably you, because this would be Queen of Cups, that's very emotional, very sensitive, very creative. Someone here that's very vocal. very action-based. They want to get something done. They have this agenda in front of them. You may show it. They need to talk about it. They need to see it in action. So finding a kind of common ground between the differing communication styles is going to be key. And maybe committing to certain things, because again, we see the quill, we see what could be paper here, and it's saying like, well, I'll do this, you do this. A division of labor, a common ground is what needs to happen. No more sort of like half-truths or whatnot. The Seven of Swords and the Five of Swords show that now is the time to come clean, to be honest, and to get everything out on the table, because everything above the fold here is really, really good. And so this is the sort of only energy that's holding you down and holding them down. And so just say what you need to say, but say it with kindness, remembering that the Queen of Cups is going to find a way to be constructive and be kind. And I think that's key. And again, don't allow them to put words in your mouth or you try to put words in theirs. You are both binary stars. We did a weekend collective on that recently. So you both can shine. You both can be yourselves. You don't have to subjugate one to the other or vice versa. I do think you can work it out. Your Knight of Swords and Two of Wands here is saying it should be okay. The only thing that can come back and bite you a little bit is, again, what was said. So make sure that the words are really weighed out so that things aren't getting regurgitated to you later. Pretty good overall. The main thing here is just communication styles and honesty. The honesty, I would say, without this, all of this kind of suffers. So you have to be honest. So don't be afraid, because if not, there's no foundation. It's a house of cards that can just be, a little breeze comes through and it falls down. So we need a firmer foundation when we go back to this ancient oak spirit. And that's the key. All right, if you're looking for love this month, again, with the honesty, some of you may have had an experience with someone in the past that was less than truthful. So walk away from that behavior if you see it again. I don't see it coming through in the future. What I do see here is a couple of things to focus on. First and foremost, there needs to be a little bit more like growth, expansion, or maybe this is about your self-worth coming through, but the Four of Pentacles is giving away too much or accepting less than what's appropriate. So when it comes to back and forth in relationships, you need more of a partner, and I'm not seeing as much there. So working on asking for whatever it is that you need in a relationship, or letting go of things that are holding you back in your life is going to be key. We want to see more coming in than is going out. You, again, could be pulling in a really strong and vocal and maybe even slightly playful air sign, because we are seeing a Queen and a Knight here, a little bit younger, a little bit more energetic, perhaps. I like that. I think it's good. And I don't read too much of an age difference between King and Queen or Queen and Knight. The only thing is there's a little bit of power dynamics here. So King and Queen are more evenly matched. A Knight and Page are more evenly matched. When we have this going on, someone likes to be right. Ostensibly you, because it's water and it's at the center. But I would say knowing sometimes that you can be right without having to say it. That might be important here. Just let that person figure it out on their own. Easier said than done, I know, but that's going to be important. Focus on your body and health right now. And that's important. So I would say physical health, financial health, and energetic balance. These are the things that are holding you back from getting into that energy that wants to come in a little bit faster. Okay? And by the way, if you do end up meeting or connecting with someone, we see something that has long-term potential. Take your time right now, though. With the Seven and the Five of Swords, I would advise against going too far too fast. Get to know what this person is about. Share a little bit of your story with them and see if they'll share some of theirs. There are some things that will come out here, and as long as you're open and honest, they should be fine. But I would say take your time this month. Right now, there's a lot more to be gained by focusing on the financial improvement and the physical health improvement than rushing in or focusing solely on relationships. But yes, you can get that if you're looking for it. And even the Ace of Pentacles tells me that someone may be interested, but when it's reversed, it may not be what you're looking for. So don't try to convince yourself. Don't, if they don't feel like they're in it, into you or into this, read the hints and move on if you need to. Okay. And if you are single and happy, as I said, I think it's actually advantageous right now, so good for you. I see a lot of growth happening for you. Physical, like basically your physical health is improving. Financially, you could be starting to see some changes for the better. And then whatever you're trying to manifest is coming through here. And there's still the lesson of truth and accountability. And as long as everyone's focusing on that this month under this sign, I think you'll be all right. That's everything. Let's focus now on your outcome, not your outcome, but your destiny card. We have the Earth Guardian coming through, and it's the same old, same old. We see it again. Stay rooted and grounded. I hope you guys are getting that message. So connecting these two together, basically, because we see the strength in deciding this is who I am and this is what I stand for. The card is reversed, so many of you may be having a hard time, or you may feel like I won't be able to find my footing again. You will. I basically do a lot of propagation when it comes to particularly cacti. I think I've shown you guys before some of it. Maybe I'll give you a growth update on it here in just a moment. But if you are patient, that's the key. So I will show you one. I've been growing these from 2 pads that I got from somebody that has this particular type of cactus. So let me show you an update. I had to wait a month or 2 for these little growths to start to appear. So I'm going to show you now why you want to be patient. All right, so this is a cactus, obviously. Hopefully, I need to be careful not to get any of the spines on me, but everything that you see here, these are all new growths, all these little tiny ones. So I'll pull it closer up. So all of those are new. And they just came through over the course of a month. And all I did was just put a pad in the ground, and you water it once a week, and I missed it as well. And basically, it just starts to grow. It puts roots in, but you have to wait. This is 2 months' time. A month ago, I was just starting to see the beginnings of it. And yeah, in a couple years, I'm going to have this beautiful cactus. And it does bloom, by the way. So this takes time and patience. And you can't do too much or too little, and that's why I kind of find cacti amazing. So be right back. When you initially put it in the ground, it's going to look more like this, and there's no growth. So I'm waiting for it to come through on this one. These are like prickly pear cacti. So that particular one, I was worried, and I kind of, I gently put it on its side, and I pulled it out, and I could see roots forming on it. So they can take 3, 6, even up to sometimes a year, 12 months for those little growths to start. So the fact that the other one already did it was amazing. So you don't want to rush something, and you can transplant. And what's cool about a cactus, particularly any sort of like the prickly pear cacti or opuntia is what they're called, they've designed themselves so that if one of those falls on the ground, they can actually grow on their sides, put some roots down, and then a new plant can grow from that. So they're amazing at survival. So you never know what's possible. And yes, you may feel like you've been uprooted, or you may feel like you're separated from your family or the main plant, but look at how far those have come, particularly the first one that I showed you. So time and patience. They try my time and patience. I go out every day. I'm like, why isn't something growing? And then all of a sudden, boom, it's like fireworks. So that's a real life example of taking your time. Okay. I live in Southern California where we don't really get freezing temperatures. So plants like that thrive, and I don't have to waste a lot of water. So I've basically I have tons of different types of cacti and succulent on my back porch. And it's kind of nice because once a week, I can just go out 1 time per week. I mist it every day. I go out and just do a little misting, but it's nice to grow like native flowers and see what happens. And when those bloom, the hummingbirds come over too, which is kind of cool. All right, sidebar, just a little bit of fun plant talk. All right, so let's move on to the next portion, which is going to be the big idea. And with the big idea, let's go ahead and see what you can focus on to kind of move the energy forward. So whereas the catalyst helps you with this month, the big idea can help you go way beyond that. So how can you really focus on the future with this one? All right, Two of Swords. There is a feeling of being limited. Like I can't choose between this and this. A lot of times the Two of Swords it's a shade of gray. It's not black and white. And the only thing that can cause stagnation with the Two of Swords is a lack of action or a lack of decision. So you are being asked to tune into your third eye and sort of say, all right, I'm going to do the best with the information given. And I'm not going to beat myself up later, because the important thing right now is for me to I have to kind of get through this stalemate. So one thing with the Two of Swords is basically saying, I'm strong enough to navigate the uncertain waters, I would say. So just ask questions. And then the other thing with the Two of Swords, whenever we have any of the blindfolded cards, the Eight of Swords being another one of them, it's asking you to sort of say, all right, let me not ignore something. I can't put this under the rug. I can't walk away. I can't turn a blind eye. I have to look at this. So either you have to look at something you don't want to look at, or you have to make a decision when it's a very sort of shade of gray. There's nothing clear. You can do this though, okay? You will do this. You have to do this, okay? And that's the main thing, is to just trust yourself. And this Two of Swords, they can kind of get out of that pretty easily. With the traditional one, they just have to take the blindfolds off. So it's just a matter of looking at something. So don't be afraid to look. Look deeper, and trust yourself. Take the first step. You can always course correct on the Two of Swords. There's no need to be perfect right out of the gate. Let's look at your blessings and blocks. Blessing, obviously something that's really easy to relate to, really easy to kind of help you energetically. And for the block, something that possibly could be either mental or environmental that's kind of holding you back. All right, so I've been shuffling the cards. Let me just pull it down so you can see it. Blessing, block. Okay. For your blessing, we have the Five of Pentacles. Not my favorite card, but it is an improvement over the Four of Pentacles. So the blessing is things are better than you think, and the blessing in disguise with the Five of Pentacles is you're worth more than you give yourself credit for. Because this is the self-worth card, which I'll be looking at for sure when I'm taking a look at the reader's choice. And Five of Pentacles comes through a lot of times because of soul scars from the past. Someone said something and it sat with you. Words can actually hurt sometimes more than a scrape or a bump on, broken bone or something like that. If someone throws a verbal spar our way, it would have almost been better if they just kind of like punch us in the gut, because you can heal from that, but the verbal stuff sticks with you. So someone said or did something, and you're remembering that oftentimes with Five of Pentacles. So what you want to remember is you're older, wiser, and different. You went into that changing room and you remembered who you were. And you said, this is who I am, and I'm not wearing that. I'm going to wear this, and I'm standing behind this. So that's the whole point of today's reading, is so that when someone says, who are you? Figuratively speaking, you will know who you are. And then this goes away, and you know that you're worth even more than this. So this Five of Pentacles, we see it's like a rose, and we see all the petals falling away. So you're at a different phase here than that. You're the new blossom that's getting ready to bloom, okay? This was the past. It's almost done. And we actually, with it in reverse, we see the petals going back into the flower. So you're regrouping and you're deciding, wait, it's not over. I can do this. There's more room for growth, etc. So your blessing is there's more than you thought, and even more than that. So whenever I help people with manifestation exercises, one thing that I learned from a teacher was to always say, all of this or something better, all of this and more. But say something better is better, because more can just be more drama. So all of this or greater, something more, even better than I imagined. Because in that way, the universe can surprise you and say, see, you're worth more. I knew you were worth more. Thank you for letting me deliver. The guides, mostly angelic, archangelic in particular, they wait for us to ask for them to come through a lot of times. You do have protection in some way, shape, or form, but if you really need some help, you have to ask. And if you really want to be surprised, you have to say, I'm open to that, because the universe is waiting. How prepared are you? It doesn't really want you to suffer or to have a misstep. So show your confidence that you're worth all of this or something greater. Your block. This has been coming through a lot in blocks for the month of July. So Nine of Cups is traditionally a positive card. You would see someone on this card with rosy cheeks and drinks all around him, and it's just like, yay, today's a great day. It's almost euphoric though, where it's like, today's the best day period ever, exclamation point. It's kind of like going over the top. But it can also be one of those cards where it's the worst day ever too. So we want to try to find the middle where it's like, today's pretty awesome, or today could be better, but I have some things that I'm doing about it. We want to go for those levels. And yeah, occasionally there is a best day ever, or there's a really difficult thing. When you lose someone that you love, when you experience a loss of other, like even if it's like hurricane or something like that, and you lose physical property, it still hurts when stuff like that happens. So we can all have those worst days, but then oftentimes in the face of that, we find love. So like when I recently lost a loved one, all sorts of friends and family, friends that I hadn't talked to since I was in high school, were just calling and checking in. And so in the face of extreme loss, I was surrounded by almost more love than I could handle, right? And so sometimes also when we see someone in need, there's a lot of love and support that's outpouring. So make sure you're looking at that if you're in the reversed Nine of Cups. And if you're in the higher Nine of Cups, make sure you're looking around you and making sort of concessions for people that may not be having the best day ever. So share the love and ask for help if you need to. And that's how you can get out of the extremes of the Nine of Cups. All right? So if you can, love, help, and mentor. And if you need to, ask or lean upon someone else, because it's always there for you. Beautiful message actually for the block. It's not really a block. It's just about managing extremes. All right? Now let's go into the viewers and readers' choice. I very clearly know what I want to do, which is to help you with resources. I'm going to help you look at some other ones, and then you can choose what you want. So give me a second here, and we'll type it up and give you a chance to vote. All right. I think speaking with tact is going to be important. So I'm just going to title it Constructive Criticism, like how to give that. All right, so constructive criticism. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, finding the balance in relationships. So balancing out relationships. It's really about give and take, but then I'm going to be dealing with this. Let's see what else. Oh, of course, the 5 and 7 of Swords. 5 and 7 of Swords. And this would be honesty and transparency. I'm just going to say, we're running out of room, so I'm just going to say honesty. And I'll put transparency in sort of hyphenated form. All right, so there you go. So take a chance to vote on that if you need to, and or if you feel inclined to, I should say. And I'm going to focus now on Reader's Choice. Reader's Choice is going to be how to help you with the resource challenge. What's going on? Why do I keep getting 4 and 5 of Pentacles? I want to see more. We have the Ace over here, which is good, but this is limiting you. So I want to help you get back to the Ace. Knight of Wands, indeed. Okay, so I'm not worried about your resources when I see a card like the Knight of Wands. All of the Wands suit of court cards in particular have really positive connotations with it. I love the Queen because she makes things happen like magically when others cannot. I like the King because he's like the ultimate boss. He commands control, but the Knight does the right thing. So I think for you, one of the challenges right now for you with your money and your resources is that you know what the right thing is to do. You just have to take action. So whether it's speaking up or whether it is deciding to kind of do a bold move on your own, now's your shot. It's actually quite interesting that we see the sword on this. Fun fact, when the Rider-Waite-Smith deck was made, fire was originally swords and wands were air. Kind of makes sense because the trees grow in the, anyway, but they were swapped around, partly to kind of make sure that maybe we don't have all of the power and the energy. So you'll see some decks that kind of play with the images. This one definitely does. Sometimes the swords look like wands and vice versa. Anyway, I have to read the cards closely for that. But with the Knight of Wands, I see why she chose it, because knights carry a sword and they fight for what matters. So fight for your right to have equal pay, equal opportunities. Take the important action if you need to. If there's any legal connotations or legal problems, rather, that need to be dealt with, deal with it. The main thing here is speaking up. Speaking up, and again, writing this stuff down. Getting things kind of put into some sort of a promise, some sort of a contract. All right? But it can be dealt with and it can be improved. And remember here, the ace coming through is telling me that there is something better on the horizon for you. All right, let's take a look at, for those of you that are learning, I finally my teacher said, just make a decision on how you want to associate. Because there's enough to worry about, I've kept with the Association for Rider-Waite-Smith that they chose. But I can sometimes see shades of meaning, and there are different decks that are, sometimes they're hard to read because I'm trying to think. I own a deck where they swapped it, and it confuses me because once your brain has gone into one level, it's sort of like, I don't want to see, it's like the Five of Wands and Five of Swords were switched. And if you see Five of Wands, you're supposed to interpret Five of Swords, and it blows your mind. So I just have chosen not to go down that path. It's a rabbit hole. Anyway, fun fact, just a little aside. All right, let's see what's going on here. Speaking of swords, let's take a look at the 5 and 7. It won by a clear margin of over 45%. All right, this is good because I want to see what's maybe possibly holding you back with honesty, with sort of like being able to see through all of that. All right. Five and 7. I want to know, let's just see what the card yields. We may have to pull a second on this one. So show us the message. King of Swords in reverse. You have to call it out, is what we're seeing with this one. So the King of Swords in reverse is outspoken and is also making sure that you show who's the boss in the nicest and most, sort of kindest way possible. But there are times where you just have to sort of say, no, that's not what we agreed to. And this is what I need, and this is what I want. So King and Queen of Swords would just come straight out with what needs to be said. Again, you could start the conversation with someone by saying, it's 10 past the hour. It's actually, you're an hour and 10 minutes late. This isn't like you, so I'd like to understand what's happening first, but I'd also like you to know this really stressed me out. So I'm not cool with it, but I want to understand right now. Are you okay? Did something happen? If someone's tardy, make sure that they're all right, that you know that. Still let them know that it stressed you and they should have texted you or called you. But if they have a valid excuse, you can consider it. But otherwise, call it out. Say, okay, last time, don't do this again. Or, sorry, this is it. Actually, there is no next time. But you still need to help me with this because you said you would help me. So call it out and hold someone accountable. And that's the main thing with this, is actually having a discussion. And if you don't want to make an accusation without any proof, that's not going to work. You have to have some sort of, that's why we're looking at this. There has to be sort of it's almost like it's systemic or habitual. So if it's been happening over time, then document it, then have the conversation and say, this is like the 5th time this week, or the 10th time this month. I can't deal with this anymore. So come back to me when you're committed and when you're ready. And that's the main thing. You could leave the door open. You could just say, I need someone I can count on right now, and I can't count on you. So we're going to have to work on trust because it's not there. I like you, and I hope everything's okay, but this is putting me in a bad situation. And that's how I would have it very quickly, but I would also check in with them first and say, are you okay? Was I clear? And what's this about? And then once they say that, then you can kind of go in with, maybe you've already decided no matter what they say, I can't connect with them again, but that's part of this. So honest conversations. Now, sometimes people aren't ready to say their truth or stand in their truth. So we don't want to push someone into that just yet, but you could say something like this, like a true relationship is built on trust. And I feel like we're not able to be honest with each other. And I need that honesty. And I know that maybe there's something that you're dealing with and you don't feel like it's safe. It is safe with me, but I need to know where you're at in order to be there for you. So like hold some space for them and see if they can do it that way. But it feels like it's just having a heart to heart. Sometimes someone's hurt and they hold back. Sometimes people are just not telling the truth. And in that case, King of Swords reverse is just saying, get in and get out and move on. Okay. And also establish your strength, because if you're in a lower position, let's say you're trying to have this conversation with a boss, a superior, you could say, for 4 years in a row, you've promised me a raise and it's not happening. That doesn't sit well with me. That's not inspiring me to do my best from day to day. Before you have that conversation, hopefully you have a better place to go to, because this is really what that's saying is take power, take control, and in this situation, find a better option, and then tell them why you found the better option, because that's going to be stronger. I've never found that it's good to have to give an ultimatum and then stay at a place where you had to give an ultimatum, because they couldn't see your value to start with, and you're always going to be fighting to be seen. So if there was a lack of clarity, or you're just dealing with someone who doesn't follow through, you can sometimes find a way around, but that energy is still going to be there. So just think about that in the long run. All right, let's move on to the last big portion, which is going to be sun, rising, moon, messages in particular. And sun being, of course, the true you, rising being how you present yourself, and moon being the part of you that a lot of people don't see. That's just the sort of like Cliff's Notes version, but that'll help you understand how to look at each of these. All right, let's go ahead and pull the cards and we'll drill a little bit deeper into each of them. So sun, rising, moon. All right, pretty darn good actually when we're looking at sun, rising, moon. We'll begin with the sun sign. Again, this is the true you. This is anyone born under the sign of Scorpio. We have the Wheel of Fortune coming through for you. This is I want to say it's like the second time. Libra might have gotten this too. And I don't remember. It was in the sun, rising, moon portion. It might have been sun as well. Very cool, especially for those of you that are on the cusp. Very common or very similar message here. So what I love about this for you is that we are seeing change happen now. When I pulled it for Libra, there were cogs on it. So you could sort of see that sometimes you may not have everything that's changing visible to you, but it's happening. Like an old-fashioned watch where there were all of those little springs and cogs and dials. It takes a lot to make the main thing move. So there's a lot of things going on beneath the surface or behind the scenes. But the Wheel of Fortune is, for many of you, a 1-year cycle change that's happening. Definitely a nice change for the better when it comes to finances and money and opportunities in general. So this is a good time for you, Scorpio. And I see the Wheel of Fortune, the energy of change starting to kind of come into your life. So if you felt like you were stuck, I see you getting unstuck. And I see that if you are in a position where someone's giving you less than what you deserve, there's a better option out there. Look now, work now at creating that. And hopefully by end of summer or beginning of fall, you'll have a chance to kind of see that in motion, if not sooner. But this can be a whole year. This can be 10 months, but it is typically a change. And I see it as it's not just sort of like money. It's life change and season change and sort of like a very cool card to come through for the sun sign. So positive energy coming through when it comes to life changes and opportunities in general. Yay for Scorpio sun. You deserve some good news and I'm happy for you. Moving on to rising and ascendant. So if that was the true you, by the way, the true you is saying, make sure that you value yourself. If that's the true you, then how you're showing up to others is, I like what you have to say, what you have to offer. The Page of Wands here is showing this ability to spark creativity, trust, passion in other people. And don't underestimate your ability to be that spark of light here. I like that we see a match basically indicating the Page of Wands. So you are the initiator, like the fire starter, but in a positive way. So you are creating something that is going to basically get a lot of people inspired if you're ready and willing. It's kind of like viral energy, if you will. So I like that. Some of you are stuck in your head this month, and it needs to come out from here into the real world. So we're looking at how you're being, how you can project, show it. Wands are more demonstrative than swords. So visual cues, this is the cool thing with tarot, is that we get to see images that help solidify the messages that I'm articulating. So a simple picture, this speaks volumes, right? That's what's actually cool about this deck, is that it's, I don't want to say simple. I want to say that it's basically pared down to the basics. Sparse, that's a better word. So the imagery on this is sparse, and it actually makes you go inward a little bit more to see the one image and kind of go in a place that you wouldn't normally. So do the same in how you communicate. More words aren't better. More pictures aren't better. Clarify, keep it simple, and use the visual or nonverbal cues or communication to accentuate, to amplify, but not to confuse. I think that's going to be key. But it's a good card for you as well. People are interested in what you have to think and how you can help them sort of brainstorm. So your mind is coming through pretty darn sharp here. But there has to be a way to communicate or to execute on that sort of vision. And that's the challenge for rising or ascendant. All right, and the next piece here we're going to look at is Moon. And we have the Seven of Wands here. Protection comes through in a beautiful way in this image. I haven't seen this particular one yet because, I haven't read a lot with this deck. So the Seven of Wands, the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith is like night and day. You would see a person holding wand, kind of pushing back on a bunch of other people trying to get into their energy. So this one, you're protecting something that you love. Protection is the common theme in both, because you're kind of pushing back. So protect what you love and make sure that if you need to move to higher ground, you do that. One thing that's always coming through with Seven of Wands is to work a little bit more intelligently. So sometimes we're working too hard, or we're being overprotective, or we're saying like, I have to do everything. Sometimes it's that sort of like, if I don't do it, it won't get done correctly sort of vibe. And that's not always true. So with the Seven of Wands, there's always an encouragement to delegate, because if you delegate, you go to the Six of Wands, which is success, or bring someone else into the fold, because then you get into the productive Eight of Wands. The Seven shows a little too much struggle for my liking. So there's always a chance to add or subtract people or projects or energy or opportunities. So it's got to be either a little more or a little less, but you definitely want to take care of what you've got in the meantime. So again, Moon can be your secret power. You're stronger than people think, and you can do more than people believe, and sometimes you do too much. So use that strength to delegate and push back and lead. There's hidden leadership energy for all of my Scorpio Moon. Okay? Now let's get ready for the final portion of the reading. A couple of things just for housekeeping before we get there. I only ask maybe 3 times in the whole reading, and these readings are long. So if you liked this and you've watched for years, or it's your first time and you've never subscribed, please subscribe. I'm close to a milestone. Once I get there, I'll do a special video. So let's get close to 325. And once I'm up at that, we'll do something fun. Please hit the like button as well. Absolutely free. You can only do it once. It's not like a Facebook or an Instagram live. So just once, that will help. And then if you never want to miss something, hit that bell icon. Join me on social as well, so you can keep track of when I'm going live. And because I do other cool things occasionally on Instagram as well. So I hope to see you there. Remember, the real Nicholas will not, and that's me, I will not send you a message. I will not ask for anything over direct message. I do not have more than one social profile. And if you have any doubts, go to my website, which, by the way, is right here. Okay? If you ever want to give back or connect with me, join a live. That's the best way. That's the only way, really. And if you want to give back and show some love and support, you can do super stickers or super chat, and I will say thanks afterwards. All right, let's get ready for meditation time now. This only takes like 2 minutes, sometimes a minute and a half. So I see a big drop off. Try not to drop off unless you're working or driving. Otherwise, just stick around and you'll have a chance to ask your final question. All right, so before we get into that, for the singing bowl or the crystal pyramid, you get to choose between the two. So crystal pyramid. I'm actually going to pick up a new singing bowl today from my chiropractor who actually works with sound therapy as well. So I'll have another one to choose from in the future, which will be cool. All right, so while you're doing that, while you're voting on the instrument that you'd like to hear, let's take a quick glance at the cards one more time and see. I love these cards here, Finding Your Inner Fire, because this one's what I think we want to focus on. This ability to sort of kindle the light within you, okay? So we're going to meditate now. You can look at the card before you meditate just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, and then we'll use that as a visual aid. All right, imagine that you are in the middle of the forest, and it's evening time. The sun has just set. The cool breeze from the canyon is starting to come through, and you can feel this sort of nice breeze pass over your body. And it's not just a breeze, though. With that cool energy, with that cool air, you also feel an ancient presence there as well. It could be the forest guiding you. Because the forest has an energy too. So you just feel this safety. It's like a veil of safety that kind of shrouds you. And as you are sitting there amongst the dark trees and the stars above you, you're looking at the fireflies around you as well. Imagine that one of those fireflies lands in your cupped hands. And as it does, just like the card that I showed you a couple moments ago, you can see this beautiful light shining through. And after a couple of blinks of the firefly, it flies away. But what you start to notice is there's a light that was left behind, or there was a light that it showed you that you had, more accurately. So just like the firefly, as you kind of hold on to this very small light, initially it kind of, grows and waxes and wanes with intensity, and then eventually it just starts to shine. Now, this is a piece of your higher self that's coming through to show you your power. Let's plant this seed in our heart, or you could also do it in your solar plexus if you need to work on power. Either heart, solar plexus, or throat. One of those three feel like a really great place to put it because you can speak your truth, you can connect with your passion, or you can really stand in your power. So choose the chakra that most connects with what you need to see a growth on. Plant that energy in your body. And now just hold your hands cupped in your lap and breathe. And notice as your heart starts to beat stronger and brighter, and you can see, even if it was in one of the other chakras, it's going to take that energy and move it through your body. If you were to take a few steps back and look at yourself, you would now start to see it's almost like when Neil was looking at Seraph in the Matrix, I think the second movie. He could see him almost sitting there like a Buddha with all this light coursing through his body. Very similar to that. You're this beautiful light being, and light is moving around you, through you, and it's coming from you, most importantly. So see your inner light shine out, and imagine that it's even lighting up the trees and the forest around you, so you can feel this sense that you are safe, you're strong, you're like your own little campfire there, but the fire is within you. Decide now what you want to spend this energy on in your life, because even when you can't see it, you have that power within. So own your power, feel that power grow, and while you're doing that, I'm going to play the singing bowl for you. So just relax, and then I'll look at your final question and final card right after this. Take one last deep breath. Rub your hands together. Imagine that you could hold them just at arm's length and you could see the light coursing through them. Again, sealing that into your heart space and making a final intention here of what it is that you want to see happen in the next year, in the next month, in the next week, and saying, I will do this, I can do this, I am doing this. On the next natural exhale, if you haven't already opened your eyes, please open your eyes. Focus on whatever question you might have for me. Don't type it out yet, just think about it. Let me shuffle the cards and let's see what's coming through for you. So we have a great card actually coming through here, the Queen of Swords. She is true to her word. She is one of the best cards for communication and developing things in life in general. And she's really a force to be reckoned with. Of all of the different court cards, if I see the Queen of Swords coming through, that's what I was talking about. That's like the energy of the Queen, basically, and her court. So you have this ability to have people listen to you. It's all in the delivery, and it's all in how you believe in yourself, and then how excited you are to kind of share it with everyone else. So whenever I have a conversation that matters, of course you can get butterflies, and of course you can get nervous, but think to yourself, I'm so glad I have this chance, and I'm so glad I get to do it with this person. I'm just gonna take a deep breath and be myself. You don't have to change who you are because the person's already interested in what it is you have to say. So get back to being passionate about what it is you want to say to them. So they like you because of your ideas, because of your passion, because of your skills. So go back into your power, which is all of those things. Don't worry about impressing them so much. Work on doing the best for yourself because you're the one that's judging you. So just do the best possible job that you can. Get it in writing. I've been saying it time and again. We've got so many swords cards indicating that all the swords are kind of pointed down. It's like, get this in writing. So definitely that. To a yes/no question, it's a yes. But definitely requires follow through. Be a person of your word. Make sure that if you say you're going to do it, you do it. And also this carries with it a 1 or 10, as with many of the King and Queen cards. So this can be the next 10 days, next 10 weeks. It could be October. I'm seeing, again, like we were looking at the sun message. For many of you, you're starting a new cycle. So not all of this is going to be one and done. I think that this could carry on for a month or a few months. And that's kind of a great energy to sort of be coming through for you, okay? Queen of Swords in particular, really nice final card for you. Nothing negative with this because she's upright. Okay, so speak up, take action, focus on doing the right thing and doing what you do best. Don't worry so much about optics. I think being constructive is always key when it comes to communicating. But with the card upright, I feel like you're going to know how to do that. Finding your voice is key as well. All right, so that, my friends, is everything. We're going to take a couple moments here just for me to say thank you. I'd like to begin with all of the lovely folks here that I've seen time and again. I see a bunch of folks with green text, so thank you to the channel members. Thanks to the longtime subscribers, for the Patreon supporters as well, and to anybody that's brand new. It's good to have you here. All right, for the folks that were willing and able to give back a little bit today, I'm going to say thank you. I'd like to welcome new channel members first, so let's do that. Okay, so Miss Melina, welcome. Brand new channel member. I think you might have joined in today's reading because you're showing up as brand new here, so thank you. Isha Marie, thank you for upgrading your membership to a star channel member. I appreciate that, and I see you. Thank you. Simone Muller or Simon Muller, thank you so much for rejoining. Good to have you back. And Nimi as well. I think this is everybody that joined within the past day, maybe Bonnie Chan as well. All right, so good to have all of you here, and thank you for making this possible. Especially for those of you that upgraded, I appreciate that as well. All right, super stickers and super chat before we wrap up for today. By the way, while I'm looking at this, I have yet to put the next 3 videos, but I'll do that later today here. I'll make sure that I put the weekend collective. And then next week, just so you know what I'll be reading for, it'll be Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius, and that'll be Monday, Thursday, and Friday. So I'll make sure that I have at least the next 3 videos available on the main page so you can set the reminders. Just takes me a little bit of time to do all of that, so I'll do that later today. All right, so starting things off today, we have Tiff. Thank you for your initial contribution. Christina as well. Jules in July. Isha Marie, thank you again, especially since you're also a channel member. And Shayna Riley, thank you, everybody. I think I got everyone. Let me see if I missed anyone at the end. I did not. And sorry, by the way, I forgot to end the poll earlier. You're still voting on it. The Crystal Pyramid won. The Singing Bowl won initially. I just forgot to end it. So now it's reversed, but you saw it earlier. Lisa, thank you for becoming a new channel member as well. Good to have you here. All right, everybody, that is it for today. I hope that you have some fun plans for this weekend and have a fantastic, I would say, week ahead and month ahead as well. Little Apollo hid under the chair, so I'm going to go take him for a walk, take a break here. Again, I'll see you on the weekend. Until then, lots of love and light, and I will see you soon. All right, bye-bye.